Hello, be welcome here to one more video, and in this video I will talk about some myths that foreigners have about Brazil that simply are not true, okay? I'm a native here in Brazil, lived over the last 36 years, and in this video I will talk about the reality here in Brazil. I'm not talking in this kind of beautiful way, very polite. I'll go straight to the point, okay? To really unclear this, let me say, politically correct filter that we see here in the internet nowadays, okay? And expose here really the truth about Brazil. So if you wanna learn more about Brazil, I'm sure you will like this video, okay? So the first myth, I know that not everybody think like this, okay? I'm not generalizing this video anything, okay? Let me be very clear. But some people think this. Some foreigners think this, okay? And the number one is that Brazilian women are easy, okay? Yes, there are some foreigners that think that because they have a foreign visa of a rich country that they will come here and all women are at their disposal only because they have a passport, okay? Let me say a visa, a rich country visa. And let me say the truth, okay? It's not like this. Brazil women are not as easy as you think, okay? Yes, they are very friendly. They are, when I compare with other countries in the world, I see that Brazilian women has a beauty above the average, okay, that's truth, okay, but they are not necessarily desperate for a visa. They are not desperate, nothing like this, okay, but depend a lot of the kind of woman. It's not all women, but some women, they will value a lot this rich country visa, okay? Some women, but are the minority, okay? The reality of my social circle that is middle class generally, they don't give a shit for this kind of thing, a rich country visa, okay? They don't give a shit for this. That's the truth. But I know women too that they value this a lot, okay? But there are few women that value this, okay? The majority of women that I know don't give a shit for this. That's the reality. And you must have the consciousness, if you are coming here to Brazil to pursue women, let me say like this, to date or find a date, let me say like this. It's important that you know that there is a lot of competition here in the sexual market, okay, actually. Because the women are not ugly, generally, but the men are not ugly too, okay? So you face a lot of competition here with the local men's here too, okay? That's the reality, okay? Brazilian women, again, are friendly, are hot, but they are not easy as you think, as you may think, okay? Let me go to the second point here. Brazil is all about violence and favelas, okay? This is a crucial point because unfortunately we have a violence problem here in Brazil, a criminality problem here in Brazil, and many times the news that you foreigners see in Brazil, many times when they show Rio de Janeiro and other big metropolises, all you see is favelas and a lot of violence. And that's the problem. When you see a news, you see the vision, like me say, like a part of the truth. You doesn't see the whole truth. And the truth is that here in Brazil there is a lot of poverty, yes, a lot of favelas, yes, but we have a lot of richness too, a lot of rich people here in Brazil. Okay, and I will talk about this better in the next topics, okay? But let me explain you why you see a lot of violence and a lot of favelas here in Brazil? Because let me talk first about violence. The problem here with violence is because Brazil is a very, very, very centralized country, okay? So we have the same laws and the same political system for all the country. So what happens is the problems we see in most states here in Brazil are the same. When a city starts to be over like 500,000 people, 1,000,000 people, they start to experience the same problems we see in other metropolis, because the laws are the same. It's very different, let me say, from USA. USA, you have a lot of decentralized federations that have different laws about guns, about drugs, about a lot of things, and here in Brazil it's all the same. So the same problems happen over and over again. So to summarize this, when you have a little bit bigger city, let me say like this, you see the same problems. And the same we see about inequality. Inequality here in Brazil is massive, massive. And year after year, since I've born here, this inequality increases more and more and more year after year. And why the inequality happens? Because of the inflation. Inflation in Brazil, the historical inflation, if you see it in the past, we had in the last 100 years over 8 different currencies. Because the political system here works like to spend a lot of money, to promise a lot of things, but the country itself never has become rich enough to have this kind of European welfare state, okay? The capitalism here has never developed at a point that the country is really rich to distribute the wealth, let me say like this. So this constant government spend makes the inflation be high. In the last, let me say, 15 years, the inflation wasn't so high as we experienced in the past, okay? But still high inflation rates compared in the other parts in the world. And when the inflation is high, the basic products are very expensive. So it comes to a point that you have to spend practically all your money only with food, okay? The rich experience inflation too, but not as much as the poor. So this inequality happens mainly because the high inflation rates, okay? Number 3, I don't know if it is a myth or it's a reality. I think it's a myth, okay? Because some people think that number 3, Brazil is rich, okay? And because of the natural resource. Let me clarify something, okay? Brazil really has a lot of natural resources here, okay? Brazil doesn't produce, in my opinion, 1% than he could produce. Not 1%. But Brazil is rich in natural resources, but is extremely poor in capitalism. To produce, to extract this resource properly. Okay, Brazil is poor in machinery, human capital, okay, in education, qualified labor workforce, industry, factories, okay. We have a lot of factories here, but in proportion with the population here is very small, okay. So Brazil has an immense power, an immense potential, but because of a lot of factors that I mentioned in the channel, and I will talk about in this video, he doesn't explore this richness. So we see a lot of poverty because of this in Brazil. People generally are poor here in Brazil. The majority of the population is poor. The PIB per capita here in Brazil is like $8,000 per year, something like this, very low when we compare with rich countries, okay? So we produce a lot in the gross PIB, let me say like this, but the PIB per capita is low, okay? We produce a lot because the size of the population is very large, over 250 million people here, but the richness per person is generally low, okay? Another point here, a myth is everybody in Brazil is poor. Everybody is favela, everybody is in. It's not like this here in Brazil. Here in Brazil, we have a lot of rich, very rich people. And why we have so much richness in Brazil is not because they are taking from the poor. Here in Brazil, unfortunately, people has this kind of mentality that we have a lot of rich because we have a lot of poor, and that's not how the world functions. We have a lot of richness in Brazil because a lot of factors. But what happens here? We still have capitalism here in Brazil. Okay, so people here have demands. Okay, they are human beings. They have demands. They demand for products and service. So there are some people that supply this demand. Is a huge demand here in Brazil. We have scarce of good people here in Brazil to make business happen. And why we have this scarcity? Because a lot of people here, proportion here in Brazil, go away from Brazil. Okay, the good people go away from Brazil. There is another part of the population that is just studying to be a public servant, because we have a lot of stimulus here in Brazil to be a public servant. So there is a lot of good people that are not producing, that are not opening companies. We have a high anti-capitalist mentality in the population to not open business, not hire people. So we have a lot of scarcity in the demand here in Brazil. So people they want people that serve well, that put like good restaurants, good service, things like this, okay? So when people go and succeed in business, they get rich. And we have a lot of entrepreneurs here, very wealthy, very rich. And there are a lot of public servants, okay? Don't get me wrong. The majority of public servants here have like a good wage, but it's not rich, okay? The advantage of public service here in Brazil is that you can get this income forever. You cannot be fired. Okay, so this is a big stimulus to people go to the public service. But the public service that really makes a lot of money are a minority of the public service. Okay, it's like 5%. Okay, so these people are rich. And unfortunately, Brazil, we have a lot of corruption here in Brazil, a lot of corruption. So people that are in corruption, like getting contracts with the state in like this wrong way, let me say like this, they are rich too. We have a lot of corruption here in Brazil and a lot of wealth people involved with this. So the wealthiness here in Brazil is basically this group here that I mentioned. And you can be a wealthy entrepreneur here in Brazil, okay? I give you a lot of advice from inside because I have had business here in Brazil. If you want a private information, I have a newsletter too. You can check in the description, okay? That I share information that are not available here in the channel about putting business, whatever. But that's it. Number 5. It's another myth. Brazil is a democracy, okay? This is a controversial topic. I don't know if I can go deep in this topic, but yes, Brazil has a democracy, but it's not a complete democracy as you think. Here we have a lot of restrictions to freedom to speak, okay? We observe this over and over again, and we observe that the government is growing their power in the population. And with the pass of the year, Brazil is getting less and less democratic, okay? Here in Brazil, they have installed something that is called PIX, P-I-X. That basically, the government created this to try to convince people that is for rapid financial transactions without charging any taxes, okay? I'm not talking about taxes, but financial transactions tax, let me say like this. And really, that's true. You don't pay nothing to do a PIX, transfer money from a person to other. But the real intention that government wants with this is control all transactions here, because every time you make a transaction, it goes direct to the government, and he has all the control in the transactions. The government here wants to be like, they inspire a lot in Chinese model of control the society, okay? That like the Chinese government has control of all the transactions, all the life, the private life, everything the government controls. And Brazil is moving toward this kind of government here in Brazil, okay? But Brazil is not as free as other countries like United States and other countries. That Sweden, okay, is very free, very decentralized. Here in Brazil is a very centralized and controlling model of society, okay? Number 6, Brazil is not important to the global economy. That's a common myth, okay? Because we don't see a lot of multinational companies, Brazilian companies in the world. If you live in USA, let me say like this, USA or Sweden or Europe, what is the Brazilian multinational company that you know? Can you mention at least 3? If I talk about Germany, I can mention 3 easily. BMW, Audi, that is car, and other company that I'm not remembering, but there's a lot of multinational. In South Korea, we have LG, we have Hyundai, okay? But Brazil, it doesn't have multinational companies because the entrepreneurship is not incentivized here as we see in rich countries. But Brazil plays a key role in the world, okay? It's very important for the investors in all of the world and in all rich countries, economies, like the global elite, let me say like this, because Brazil is a commodity provider, okay? Basically it's this. And it's the largest economy in Latin America. We have Amazonia here. We have a lot of important strategic position for the world, okay? So Brazil doesn't have a lot of multinationals, but it is a commodity provider for the world, okay? It's a big farm country, okay? And it's really strategic in the world. It's in a strategic position in Latin America. It's the largest economy, okay? And yes, it's important, but we doesn't see a lot of multinationals. And number 7, this is the biggest myth I see nowadays, okay? And pay very attention. Brazilian people are famous to be friendly. Everybody likes Brazilians because say they are charismatic, friendly, and open, and a lot of things like this. And I'm not saying that's not true. If we compare, really, Brazilian people are friendly, Brazilian people are talkative generally, but don't think all Brazilians are like this, okay? I remember 20 years ago, I observed the dynamic in places that I usually go, things like that. I see that 20 years ago, people are a lot friendly and family friendly as today. Today we see strong competition in the society, okay? We doesn't see the friendly mindset we used in the past, okay? But I think this is a global movement that is happening. People are being more, let me say, competitive and having less childs too, okay? Things like this. But Brazil is suffering from this too. So today, not all people will be open and talkative and friendly. Don't make huge, high expectations from Brazilians, okay? But be realistic, okay? There are some people that are closed people that don't talk, that will be not friendly, okay? And there are people that are friendly as well, okay? It's not as it used to be in the past. That's the reality, okay? I hope that you enjoyed this video. One important thing, if you have some question or some observation in your country, if these dynamics that I mentioned are similar, put in the comment. Put the comment, how is your economy in your country, how people behave in your country, things like this. I want really to interact with people here. So that's it. Thank you and see you in the next video. Bye bye.